If you are a longtime listener of the Chris Terrell Podcast, then you know that sometimes when I travel, I have a bare bones episode and a bare bones recording. Well, I've made the recording a little bit better. This time I brought a travel kit, so I have a bit better microphone with me. Even managed to hook up a video. But I'm traveling again this week, and this week's particularly fun. I am at a Tony Robbins seminar. It's the one I'm at is Unleash the Power Within. It's been a bucket list seminar of mine for a long time to go to one of these, and the opportunity came up in my schedule where I could make it work in New York, so I went for it. And it's been really fun to do this, but it's multiple days, and it is incredibly intense. And what I decided to do last week, rather than pre-recording an episode, I thought it'd be fun. I know I'm a little late today getting this out, but I thought it'd be fun to just capture some of my thoughts while I'm in the middle. I've just finished day 2 of a 4-day seminar. And now, set the scene, like the seminar is not at all like a normal one. This isn't meant to be like a pitch or a plug for a seminar. It's like that's not what this is about. What I thought I would do is share like some of the takeaways that I've been getting, some of the things that are standing out, both that apply to me, but also that I think might apply to you, because I am a coach and I do think about how can I take the things I'm learning and bring it to you to help you get results in your life. I've got so many things swirling around in my head, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to just kind of free flow, get some of this stuff out while I'm here at the seminar. So this is going to be a little all over the place from the standpoint of I'm not going to have one continual thread throughout the whole episode, so I'll sort of jump through different topics. I'm going to grab different notes that I wrote here, and I'll read you what I wrote and then talk about how I think it could apply for you. And before I do that, though, I would like to invite you to join my free Facebook group. You can find a link to that by going to christerrellcoaching.com, or you'll find a link to it in the show notes of the podcast. The doors to the guild are closed now, and if you are thinking about joining the guild at some point, maybe at the end of the year or the first part of next, head on over to theguildofchampions.com. You can get your name put on the wait list, and I'll be sure to notify you whenever the doors open if you'd like to join that. And with my commitment to you, getting an episode out every week, and sometimes that's tough. I'm getting it out there this week. I'm going to do that. Now, let's just go ahead and jump right to it at this point. So one of the things that stood out to me, this is on day 1 when Tony was speaking, which, by the way, actually, hold on. A couple things. First, he is a giant of a man. That is a big dude. Even when he's far away, there's like 10,000 of us there or something like that. I'm pretty far away, but even when far away, he's a big dude. And the second thing is he went nonstop. He talked all day long. He rarely stepped off stage. I was shocked at just how he could go for that long and keep doing that. That was really, really impressive to see him do it. And he's not a young guy. He's an older guy. So it's really a testament that age doesn't necessarily mean anything. It means something, but it also doesn't. Like, you can be older and still be vibrant and still be doing things that take a tremendous amount of energy. And it's neat to see him demonstrating that himself. The other part is you are moving. I am so tired. I'm exhausted. I'm physically sore. I've had a busy week leading up to it physically. 20,000, 25,000 step days. So I was already pretty beat up when I came into it. But I'm still, like today, right now, I'm at 17,000 steps today. That's just today. And I took not about the same yesterday. I'm at this event. There's so much jumping. There's so much dancing. There's so much moving around because he's all about getting you into a peak state, changing your physical state. And I think that's a really big, it's very obvious. That's a core part of his approach. And I knew that your physiology makes a big difference. And I'm not going to talk too much more about that here. I'll let that be his thing. But with this, there's a lot of shouting and screaming. And so my voice is tired. It hurts. It's sore. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to talk for the podcast. So I'm going to have to keep it short. I'm talking kind of soft. And so it's making the volume levels a little weird. So hopefully it's okay. But first thought that came to my mind is, to overcome emotional eating, you must find out what influences you to emotionally eat now and in the past. Now, I knew that already, but it was interesting to hear. And he wasn't talking about emotional eating. He was talking about we have these patterns. And he's talking about we find the thing that influences us, that drives us, because there's a reason behind everything we do. We always have a reason for what we did. That doesn't mean we consciously remember the reason, but we have one. And when we emotionally eat, something is influencing us to do it. And to be able to influence someone, you need to understand them. And to overcome the emotional eating, you have to make sure that it is addressing, that you find out what needs the emotional eating is addressing. And this was really fascinating because in his seminar, he talks about something called the 6 human needs. And he says something that was really interesting, that if you find something that meets 3 of the 6 human needs, you'll violate your own principles. You'll keep doing it. Your brain will reward you generously for doing that. And that can be a reason why a person doesn't stop emotionally eating, is because, let's say emotional eating is helping you with a few needs, and you're not replacing it with something that meets just as many needs, you're going to keep going back to it. And I've seen that happen in my own life. I've seen that happen with so many other people as well. The 6 human needs that he talks about being certainty, and we all have a need for certainty to know how something's going to work out. The next one is the need for variety. That's the crazy part. We have this need for certainty in our life, but we also simultaneously have a need for uncertainty, which just to keep life exciting, right? And let's see, hold on, I'm going with there. I'm looking through the rest of my notes here. And then we have a significance. You need to feel important, but we also have a need to feel connection with people. And we have needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution. Now, I actually, when I teach emotional eating, I do talk about it from a standpoint of meeting needs. I use some different needs than what he has here. I think safety and security is a crucial one. And if a person is lacking safety and security, they're going to try to meet that need somewhere else. And interestingly enough, we'll turn to food to do that. But that one it was interesting just to hear him talk about that, just point blank, that you got to, that if something hits 3 needs, you're going to keep coming back and doing it. Now let me switch to a totally different topic. Talking about what is triggering certain emotions, such as like uncertainty, fear of the future, or the pain that it might have in the future. Anyway, but one of the things he talks about, we have these things like disappointment as a feeling, and expectations being just premeditated disappointments in many cases. So what do you do instead of expectations? A lot of times people have even heard me say, well, Chris, I need to stop the expectations, because having expectations on things just leads to me being unhappy. And when I get unhappy, I then turn to emotionally eating. So if I want to stop the emotional eating, I got to drop the expectations. Cool, Chris, got it. What do I do instead? Well, let me tell you what Tony would tell you to do. And this is what he said in day 1 of the seminar: to swap out expectations for appreciation. And that is powerful. When you start saying thank you for the things that are bringing you pain and suffering, you'll view it differently. It'll affect you differently. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, Chris, how could you possibly do that? You don't understand how painful this is. How can I say thank you for my mother getting sick? It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you could say thank you. My mother got sick because this is giving me the wake-up call that I needed, that I got to take that relationship seriously. How could I say thank you for getting fired from my job? I don't know. Maybe you could say thank you for losing the job, because honestly, I've hated that job and I was stuck there and I couldn't find the courage and will to get out of it. And well, now you did me the favor. You chopped off the head. Now I got to go find something else. Thank you. What do you mean thank you for getting that car accident? Well, I'm really glad I got in that car accident, because that near-death experience gave me a reason to remember that, like, oh my gosh, I'm mortal and I've not been taking my life seriously. Maybe I need to start doing that. What do you mean thank you? You say thank you for my dad dying? I mean, yeah, you could. You could be like, thank you for dying, because this is the natural order of things, and thank you for showing me what it was like to have a beautiful passing from this world, and for having me go through the grieving experience so young, so that I can go through my life on the other side of it, realizing that you've taught me everything I needed to know. Like, that's pretty great. And I know for so many people that's going to be really challenging and tricky, because they've lived their life ruled with expectations. Like, they're always looking forward for something. They're always anticipating something coming forward. Actually, oh, right, hold on. I believe they said something about anticipating. Yeah, here it is. Don't live in a state of anticipation. That was interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say that before. I certainly can't recall it. But living in a state of anticipation. Eckhart Tolle talks about it like, don't be so eager to get to where you're going next that you forget where you are now. That's not how he said it, but that's a summation of what he said in my own words. But I found that can be really important. It's like we're at work, and then all I'm thinking at work is like, gosh, I got to be home. I want to be at home. I got all these projects I got to get to do at home, and I got to really get these done. Gosh, I don't have time to be doing all this work. And meanwhile, I'm not at work. I'm not paying attention. And then I finally get home. It's like, oh my gosh, I wasn't doing all the work. I got so behind, and now I'm here at this project. I'm doing this project, but really I should be at the office getting caught up on this work. And it's like, wait a minute. If I was at work, if I'd have just been at work and didn't worry about what was going on at home, and then when I was at home, I didn't worry about going on at work, I could actually get stuff done in both places. When you're always anticipating being somewhere else, you're not fully where you are. And a crucial element for me in overcoming my emotional eating was becoming 100% present with what I'm doing. Wherever I am, be there. If I'm driving, drive. If I'm at work, be at work. Don't be at work and then also be in my head off trying to do other things in my personal life, because then I'm not getting all my work done, right? And I need to get my work done so that when I go home, I have permission to just turn off work. Like, I ain't thinking about it. I'm here at home. I got to be here at home. But I thought that was really, really powerful. So I'm going to go over here to the front page of my book. Sorry, I'm doing this live. So this is more of an unstructured episode of the podcast, but it's just really important to me that I get things out. So this is something that I thought was really great, how he worded it. The mind, we have these cognitive biases, and then there's many of them, so many different cognitive biases, but he summarized, Tony did, into three words, which I thought was great. The mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes. Right? The mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes. And it's always doing that. It's not a bug. It's a feature that it does that, but we got to be careful because that can get us stuck. It's like, well, I always emotionally eat. Or when I get really stressed, we don't say I'm emotionally eat. We always like, well, when I always get stressed, I like to have ice cream. Or when I go to McDonald's, I have to get the double quarter pounder with cheese and a large milkshake and a large fry and a Diet Coke because I love it. Like, if I'm going there, I have to get that. I don't actually like anything else. That's what I want, right? I always have to do that. It's like, well, that's a generalization. You don't always have to do that. But then even in the past, the mind will delete details. It's amazing how many people I've lost count of the number of people I have met with and sat down and talked with, and we were unpacking an emotional eat from within the 24 hours of it having occurred. And I will ask the person, why? Why did you do it? And it is amazing how many people genuinely and truly don't remember why. They don't know. They forgot. It's like, it's been less than 24 hours. Like it's in there somewhere. But no, the mind just shields it from ourselves. It deletes that information from our conscious mind. And it's shocking how that happens within the mind. And a big part of overcoming emotional eating, a big part of for me overcoming my weight and learning to be present, was to recognize that my mind does indeed distort, delete, and generalizes. And therefore, I should be mindful of when I allow myself to emotionally react to. It's not that I'm saying I shouldn't have emotional responses to things that are going on. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm suggesting is you should perhaps not have them instantly. Something I've recently discovered, I'm working on a program called Scale Sense, and I'm really excited about it, but a core function of it is it's pause, reflect, proceed. That's just a simple framework. We have to stop these emotional responses. So how do we do it? When you find something that triggers you, you pause. You have to get really good at recognizing you've been triggering and then pause. You have to, as Tony calls it, you have to interrupt the pattern. You have to do something that, because when you're triggered, a pattern is firing off. You can think of a pattern like a CD. Yeah, he used an analogy that I liked. It's a little dated, but it still holds. You have a CD that had all of the code imprinted into the disc, and the CD player can read that code, but it never changes. It's just ones and zeros in sequence. And so if you take the CD out of the CD player, well, you can put it back in and play it again. And so a lot of us, what we do is when we're trying to overcome our triggers that cause us to emotionally eat, that cause us to feel the intense emotions that lead to emotional eating, when we're trying to work through these triggers, we have the CD, and we'll take it out of the CD player, but we'll put it back in the sleeve. And then we'll take it out later and we'll put it back in the CD player because it's familiar. We know it. Another thing you talked about here is we don't necessarily go to what we want. We go to what's familiar. And we're always chasing the familiar, which I thought was really important. I'm trying to see if I remember where I put that. I don't remember where I did. Anyway. So with the CD, he says it's not enough just to take the CD out of the CD player. You have to take it out and then take a needle and just scratch it until eventually nothing can read the pattern anymore. And so what I realized, like with the emotional eating, you have these triggers that cause you to want to emotionally eat. You have to figure out how to get to go, I've been triggered. I'm about to react. Pause. First skill is just recognizing that I did it. Pause. Stop. Pause. Because you have to remember in that pause, you can remind yourself, My mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes. My mind does that. It does it all the time. Okay, is it possible that I'm doing that right now? Is it possible that I'm distorting, deleting, or generalizing something? And if so, do I want to emotionally react to it right now? Right? And it's okay if you do, but it's that reflect period. You're just reflecting on what just happened, and then you proceed. You'll be shocked at how often you will not emotionally eat if you can just pause, reflect, and then proceed. But you have to do it after the trigger. Now, yes, I'm going to advise you get to the place that you just don't get triggered at all, and we work on your triggers and we master them. But we're going to work our way backwards. And in many cases, before we can get to you mastering your triggers, we have to master what happens when you get triggered, which is really, really important. But I like that he talked about that, the distort, delete, and generalize. And let me see if there's any, gosh, my voice is getting tired. I want to keep talking, but my voice is just, it is very tired. Let's find one more thing that I think I'm going to talk about. Oh, here we go. I got something I jotted down here. It was a mix of my own thoughts from what he was talking about. So we react emotionally to the meaning that we give things, which is the story that we're playing in our mind. But the meaning we give things determines our focus. The mind's focus. Where are we focusing our attention? Where are we focusing our thoughts? And our focus will dictate the actions we generally take over time, right? As we focus on something, we generally are going to take action to help us achieve that end. And there's a saying that Tony was using frequently over the event this weekend, where focus goes, energy, or where focus flows, energy goes, or something like that. But it's really, you get what you focus on all the day long. As a man thinketh, so is he. But anyway, your focus dictates your actions. But the state you're in, your physical state, will impact the meaning you give things. So if meaning dictates your focus, well, your state impacts the meaning you give things. And I thought that was really important, right? Because he really is utilizing the fact that the body and the mind is a two-way thing. You can do things within the mind that influence the body, but you can do things to the body that influence the mind. And Tony takes the back door of the mind, which I think is or the front door, I don't know, one of the doors, that is the body to alter the mind. Because if you can alter the mind, you will alter your actions. And if you can alter your actions, you'll alter your results. And if you can do it while everything is in alignment, taking you towards what he calls, how does he word it here? I know most of the stuff, but I really want to try to make sure I get the exact terminology. This is what we covered in day 2. That's right. Know your outcome. That's the reason. So when you know the outcome, your desired outcome that you're trying to achieve, you can look at, are your actions, are your thoughts, are the meanings you're giving things all in alignment towards those things. But you have to have that clarity of what it is that you want for that to happen. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I know this is a short episode, but I really wanted just to get a few raw thoughts while I was out here. This is something that investing in myself has really paid off dividends. I mean, it's been tremendously helpful in my life. And so I just want to encourage you that, like, if you're struggling, the best place to invest your time and your money is on yourself. Leveling up yourself, you get to keep all the benefits. When you go learn something, you get to keep the knowledge. When you go learn a new skill, you get to keep the skill. And that's pretty awesome. And one of the things that's so important to learn about is your mind. It's the only one you got. And the mind is such an incredible thing to have. And we all have one. We all have this beautiful, incredible thing called the mind. And the more you can learn to use it, the better the results you're going to get in my life. Now, on my journey, I didn't realize that what I was doing is I was thinking my way into the thin body. I was changing what was going on in my mind. I didn't know that. It was my mentor, Todd, after that told me that he's going to teach me what I did, which was important. Like, I knew what I did mechanically, but I didn't know what I did in my mind. And until I knew that, I wasn't going to be able to tell you how to do it. And so it was important that I figured all that out. And I'm telling you, if you can learn to master your mind, if you can learn to think differently, you'll get entirely different results. And I know you can be tempted to be like, well, but I just need to know the diet to do. I don't want to work on all this brain stuff because it's hard. It's hard to change. It's hard to get past my triggers. It's hard to let them go. I know it is. It's really difficult. But these things are part of why you gain the weight. These things contribute to your unhappiness. And if you can work on that, if you can get the emotional eating out of your life, you'll find weight loss is so much easier. It's like plugging the hole in a bucket, right? If your emotional eating is like you have a big bucket and you're pouring water into it, but there's a hole in it. And that's a problem. Even if the hole's plugged sometimes and opened other times, if that hole is a problem, it needs to be permanently sealed. And learning to use your mind can be a critical way of permanently sealing those emotional eating tendencies, which when you then lose the weight, can help you keep it off for good. All right. Have a great rest of your week, champion. So good to talk to you. I will talk to you next week on my regularly scheduled episode of the Chris Terrell Podcast when I'm back in the studio next week. Talk to you later. Bye.